Kenya Commercial Bank are the queens of volleyball on the African continent. After yesterday, they did defeat Ahly 3-1 to win their second African Women Club Championship. Their first since 2006. Emanzi Ndiamahachi was in Tunisia, or is still in Tunisia, and he caught up with all the action, and he does give us a preview of how the game transpired in his own eyes.
So the Africa Club Championship came to an end yesterday. That is here in KCB, Tunisia, with Kenya Commercial Bank from Kenya beating up on ahly 3-1 to win the championship. And there was also another victory for Kenya because Kenya Pipeline managed to beat Carthage, who were the defending champions, to finish number 3. So that's how the championship concludes. KCB were very aggressive yesterday. They started on a high, won the first 2 sets. They almost slipped in the third, and of course ahly took that one. Then they managed to come back in the fourth. They were down 16-20, but they were able to come back and win the set and the match. Sharon Chepchumba, the eventual MVP, destroying the Egyptians' net defense all through the game to give the Kenyans victory. It's the last time they had won, it was 2006, and they needed to make a comeback. They promised on arrival that it was very possible for them to win this championship, especially if you talk to him at the start of the tournament. He was very confident that they could actually go on and win this one, and indeed they've done it. It has been dominated by the North Africans in the last few years, but the Kenya Commercial Bank have this one in the bag, and it is the final day for me and for Team Ndeje that I came with from Uganda here in KCB. They will be returning to Uganda and will arrive in Uganda tomorrow at 5 p.m. They will leave Tunisia today at 4 p.m. Tunisian time, that is 6 p.m. in Uganda. But we'll have a long layover in Doha before they connect to Uganda. So from me, I'll be back in studio very soon, hopefully Monday, to continue with the CTV Sports Dish.
Emazi, thank you very much. I was getting tired of answering questions. Emazi akomaodi. Ladies, I won't say gentlemen, but ladies, Emazi has told you when he's returning and probably when he will be on the CTV Sports Dish. But he also sounded a little bit sad that the journey is almost coming to an end and he's returning home.
I think, Clive, you have been through such adventures. At some point, you feel that, oh my God, I need to go back home. But as it nears
I'll shock you.
As it nears the end, you are feeling, oh my God, now it's coming to an end, and probably you start missing it already.
I'll shock you. During the Africa Cup of Nations, I almost extended my ticket.
Because you're already missing it before you do it.
Because I didn't want to come back home. And I almost stayed for an extra week.
Do I know some of the reasons why you wanted to say that?
Let's listen to Pompi talk. Emazi shares and tells us that actually every time he talks to him, he kept on saying that KCB have what it takes to win this championship.
Yeah, this tournament has been very, very tough for us, starting from the group stages and where we lost to Carthage, who are the OC here in Tunisia. But we came back strong by winning the other remaining matches against Ndeje and a team from Cote d'Ivoire. Reaching the elimination round of 16, we managed to eliminate Custom from Nigeria. And then we met our sisters from Kenya Prisons, who are 5 times title holders, and we qualified for the semi-final. It was unfortunate again that we met with Kenya Pipeline, who are much stronger in this tournament also, but we managed to beat them 3-0 and qualify for the finals. During our match in the finals, it was not easy because we faced ahly from Egypt, who have 8 times title, and they came in this tournament hoping that they would beat Kenyan teams. During the match, we knew that if we don't put them under pressure, it was going to be easy for them. So we strategized on which position are we going to use, especially on the attack. They have tall players on a certain position, but they have shorter players also on a different position. So we utilized the setter's position and one of the left player, number 11, who are a bit short, and we used this position to give our strong player Chumba to attack on this position, and also Masimoim, who was facing just opposite directly to the setter. And it worked for us. We avoided using the middle attackers because they have tall attackers and good experienced players in this position.
Well, Paul Bitok there, one of the most experienced coaches, not only in the region, but also on the African continent. Because volleyball in Rwanda is what it is today because of that man. People will tell you players like Lawrence Yakan, who plays for the Rwanda national team, is what it is because of that man, Paul Bitok. But that was after setting up a blueprint in Kenyan volleyball that has been followed for a very, very, very long period of time. Now, joining us online is our colleague from Kenya, David Kwalimwa, a journalist with the Daily Nation in Kenya. And with him, we want to understand why these Kenyan teams, by the way, are very dominant on the continent, especially in the sport of volleyball. I mean, KCB are the champions. Before they won it, they did defeat Pipelines in the semifinals. Pipelines have won that championship 6 times. Then you have Kenya Prisons, who didn't qualify for this championship, but they have also won it a couple of times. All those 3 teams are actually institutional teams. And David, good afternoon once again, and welcome on the Sports Dish.
Yes, good afternoon, Clive from Nairobi. It's a sunny day. It's a Madaraka Day for Kenya, the day Kenya attained self-rule. So officially, Kenya is 59 years old today.
Kenya is officially 59 years old.
Yes.
Well,
how old are you?
Too young. Not as old as Kenya. But Kenya Commercial Bank are winning their 2nd African Championship. First of all, what do you owe their success to? Because in the recent past, there was a time when Kenyan teams were very dominant on the continent. The Egyptians and Tunisians came and faced them out, but looks like they are trying to go back to the top.
Yes, there's a long term and a medium term to this success. The long term is that there has been a collaboration between the Japanese government and a couple of Japanese sports federations with their Kenyan counterparts, stretching back to the 1970s and 1980s. Where Japanese teams and clubs and coaches came to Kenya and put in the grassroots on how Kenya should play volleyball, the style in which it should play volleyball, how it should be played. And from there's been a lot of success, and a lot of Kenyan teams, especially national teams, have been camping in Japan in readiness for continental events and sometimes international events. So that is a long part of the success. The medium part is that a number of corporates in the country and parastatals, including, of course, the Kenya Prisons and the Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Commercial Bank, and to some extent, a Posta, have really invested in volleyball activities and have pumped in money towards most probably empowering the girl child and enhancing talent. So this is what we're coming to see, in which Kenya has really dominated in women's volleyball for the past 10 years to 2 decades, with Kenya Prisons, Kenya Pipeline, and Posta to some extent, or getting to the latter stages and even winning continental competitions. On this particular competition, KCB winning the Continental Championship was more or less of a surprise, but again, not quite, because in the last 2 years, KCB has invested, KCB, which is Kenya Commercial Bank, has invested a lot in sports. And in particular, the company did poach some of the best talents in Kenya. Mercy Moim from Kenya Prisons, coach Japheth Munala, you remember he was at Kenya Pipeline before he came to Prisons. Then as well, Chumba, the lady who was voted the most valuable player in the tournament, came in from Kenya Pipeline. So there's been a lot of poaching of big and great talents from Kenya, alongside the biggest coaches you can, and the best coaches you can ever find. Paul Bitok, of course, coming in from Rwanda, as you rightly put it. And so this team, over the last 2 years, has done a big job and gotten all the way to the final and beaten ahly against all expectations to win the title.
David, you have talked about the long-term investments and the Japanese helping you out. But at some point, Kenyan teams were dominating this championship. That is from 2001 to 2013, winning 10 of the 13 championships. But now, after a period of time, you have two Kenyan teams in the semi-finals. Save for KCB, what are the rest of the others doing right at the moment to ensure that they are competitive again on the African continent?
Well, sports is an interesting part of our industry where you cannot dominate forever. There's a patch in which you have to dominate, and then there's a patch where whatever you do, you play second fiddle. There's a phase in which some of the players have to be phased out, others have to come in, and that is what is quite affecting the likes of Kenya Prison so far, because as you know, the likes of Braxidi Zagala, who've dominated and won a couple of continental titles, and Janet Wanja, Jane Washua, no longer in the scene. They have been phased out of the national team. They've been phased out of club duty. And then the incoming players take some time to gel, take some time to start dominating again at the highest level, which is the continental level. So on that aspect, I expect Prisons and Pipeline to some extent to bounce back at some point. But again, it is the Japanese connection that I have to stress, because in 2015, I was in Japan for 3 months when Kenya did qualify for the FIVB World Cup. And before the tournament started, the Kenya did camp in Japan, in Hitachi, for almost 3 weeks, just getting coached by Japan officials. And you could see the players were picking a lot of tips on how to play the game of volleyball at the highest level, on how to compete. The Kenyan team did not quite compete at that particular World Cup, finishing 14th out of 16th, ahead of only Peru and Algeria. But again, when they come back home, they're African beaters and they're world beaters on the continental stage. So these kind of things are the ones that really come into place for Kenya in such like tournaments. And some of the players who played at the World Cup in Japan in 2015, like Mercy Moim and Edith Wisa, are still some of the players that are conquering it on the continent.
And then I think the last question from me is that when you look at the Kenyan league, how big is it, the league for the ladies, as compared to the rest of Africa? Because clearly you have the best in East Africa, but when you look at the likes of the Egyptian league and then Tunisian league, if you try to compare them, how big is it?
Well, there's still some challenges for sure. Kenya only has 3 indoor facilities. Of course, the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, in Nairobi. And then there's also one at Nyayo Stadium, and there's one in Mombasa. Apart from that, there is an infrastructural problem. There's still
David, you have 3, we have none. We don't have any. You have 3 that meet international standards, and you're complaining.
I get your point, but comparatively, if you go to Ahly, if you go to Carthage, if you go to Kelibia in Tunisia, if you go to Morocco, I wouldn't even talk about Japan. What I saw in Japan, I mean, it's just an unstarter. I would go to the 10th floor of a building, Clive, and find 15 volleyball courts there. And I've gotten into a lift and I've gone to the 10th floor. And that is not even a government institution. That's just maybe a college or an institution that invests heavily in sports. So most of the Kenya Volleyball League matches, as Clive will know, are still played on grass, and you know, officially volleyball is an indoor game. So there are efforts by the corporates, especially Kenya Pipeline, to build indoor arenas, and the government, of course, the government can lag here and there because of priorities. But of course, it is a competitive league. Funded mostly by the corporates. When the league is in place, I mean, it's just a avalanche of corporate institutions. You'll see Equity Bank team there, Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Prisons, KCB, the who is who are really investing in volleyball, and the players are really motivated. They are paid on time, they are paid well. KCB, for example, players are paid up to $2,000 to $2,500 a month as monthly salary.
Say that again.
Medical cover. $2,000 to $2,500 a month, the KCB players take home per month.
A volleyball player in Kenya is paid between $2,000 and $2,500 US a month.
Wow.
Yes, and of course, Kenya Prisons players are employed. They are employed within the service and the force, and they earn at least about $1,000 plus allowances, but they have a full-time job for life, so they don't have to bother about what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. Kenya Pipeline as well has infused its players into the corporation. Remember, Kenya Pipeline Corporation being a very big company in Kenya, the one that pipes fuel for Clive to pump into his car to use from Mombasa to Kampala. So these are some of the institutions that have invested in sports, and you can see the dividends.
Well, David, actually, that was my next question. I wanted you to talk about facilitation, but you answered the question before I could actually go out there and ask it. But thank you very much for the insights. Though I don't know, what jersey are you putting on?
This is an Uruguay jersey. I was doing some work for the 2018 FIFA World Cup, and some friends of mine handed it over to me. So now that it's a holiday, I just have to remember the huge talents that come from Uruguay. Of course, you know about Diego Forlan and his brothers.
I thought you would don your FC Leopards something just for today. Since it's Freedom Day.
I need a Vipers one, actually.
You want a Vipers jersey?
Yes, that will do me good.
I can guarantee you a KCB jersey, but not a Vipers jersey. So if you change your mind, let me know. I'll get a KCB jersey as well.
Let me just say thanks for the effort.
Thank you very much, David, for your time. We really appreciate always joining us on the show. And this man asking for
Thank you too, and you're doing a good job.
But for me, I mean, he talks about so many things, that the relationship with the Japanese government, all these sports MOUs they're signing and all that. But then for me, the issue of facilitation, Shaban, no player in the Uganda Premier League, because it's the only sport we have probably that you would say that pays a salary. No player in the Uganda Premier League earns $2,000 a month. A volleyball player in Kenya is earning that.
I think it shows you the levels we are at the moment and where they are. Yes, they may not be performing on the biggest stage in all disciplines, but at least
but they are performing on the continent.
Yeah, definitely. They are showing you that they are performing in different disciplines, in volleyball and stuff and like that. And it's something we are supposed to be embracing. It is not going to be easy because that is not how our government sets out, and probably even some of the investors are doing Uganda, but I think we'll get that at some point. Well, maybe it may not be in our lifetime, but we'll eventually get there.